We're working through all the stitches, the screens, and the techniques that you can do on the Husqvarna Viking Embroidery S600 serger and overlock machine. So in this video, I just want to get you comfortable with the screen, which by the way is a color touch screen, easy and accessible right at your fingertips, just right above the needles. So it's easy to change, adjust, and even save some of your favorite settings. So this machine has a total of 26 built-in stitches. And the nice thing about this machine is that you will find that as you pick a stitch, it will have automatically picked the settings for the fabric you've selected. Now, some of you have been Husqvarna Viking owners in the past with your sewing machine and are familiar with the Sewing Advisor, where you can tell the machine what weight of fabric, stretch or woven that you are using, and then it will adjust the machine's settings, the feeding, the pressure, everything that you need adjusted for that stitch automatically. And now we find it on a serger. So this is something really nice, but for right now, I want to make sure that we're all starting on the B fabric, that is a woven medium. And if you pick stitch number 3, that is your kind of 4-thread overlock, the one you'll see me using the most. Now here's a little trick. Whatever stitch you're on and whatever fabric you've selected, when you turn the machine off, is what it's going to come back to. So do keep that in mind, that if you do wander off and pick something like a stretch heavy and then pick a 5-thread safety stitch wide, that you will have those settings when you come back tomorrow and turn the machine on. Now, being that I have picked certain types of fabric, you will see the needle suggested size change. A small little picture is here, but did you see that nice colorful picture earlier? If you touch the I button, I for information, it will pull that back up and give you a reference of which color of threads you need to be threading, and also what other settings you need to have engaged or not engaged, and any other information such as what that stitch will be used for will all be on this particular screen. Touch the I to come back out, and you're right where we left off. This is the information of which needle locations you will need to have the needles in, cutting width suggestions for this type of fabric. And then right here, when I touch it, it opens up. And I also, when I touch this symbol right here, it closes it. Well, in here are the tensions. So we'll be adjusting tensions instead of with dials. We will have numbers on screen. So whichever one is highlighted, that's the one you'll be increasing or decreasing for tension. And you'll see that the numbers kind of look a little different when they've been changed. And then when you've done your adjustments to minimize that, and it kind of hides back over here on the side. One thing we'll talk about with tension adjustments when you're working with a screen, did you notice that it's only 1/10 of a millimeter of an adjustment? So when you see me changing numbers, you're going to see me going whole numbers. So if it was at 1 when we started, you're going to see me going all the way up to 2 or even up to 3 just to see some change. So going from 1.0 to 1.2 is not going to do a lot of change, just FYI on that. Once you have settings that you like, there is an option, and another video we'll do on how you can save those settings, give it a name, and maybe it's for when you're working with specialty thread that will then be remembered, and you can always come back to it at a later time. Down here we have speed of the serger, so if you want it not to run so quickly, you have 5 speed adjustments. Plus you have your differential feed. Now normally this says 1.0, but because I'm on a stretchy fabric, it has already increased that slightly to help so it doesn't come out wavy or gather depending on the technique I'm doing. I'm going to put it back to that woven fabric B, and that will return it back to more of a normal setting. It also returns the stitch length to 2.5. So again, you have options for stitch length. I haven't checked to see what the longest stitch length is on this machine, but I can find out really soon. We're going to 4, 5 is our highest stitch length. Now, here's a quick way to even clear out the settings for a stitch. It's really just, you can easily just go and pick another stitch and then come back to that stitch you were on, and you'll notice that everything will have cleared out. So, and that will be cleared out also when you turn your machine off. The only thing it remembers is the actual stitch you were on and which fabric you have chosen. So just kind of keep that in mind. Save those settings if it's something that you're going to be wanting to know tomorrow, because we have that wonderful feature right then and there. A few other things, we do have a settings menu. I've actually turned off the sound, so every time I'm touching the screen, it's not beeping like it did when it came out of the box. You have 10 different languages in here, so English. And then I also was noticing that when I was touching the screen, it wasn't very active. It was sort of active, but not really great. And that was because it just needed a slight calibration for the touch screen. So I was able to come in here and calibrate the screen, and now everything's working much better. To get out of the settings menu, touch that little picture of a gear, and that will bring you right back where we started. So we're going to get into more screen things as we go from stitch to stitch. I'll be explaining each one that I change as I go in each of the videos. So I hope you'll check out the entire playlist for all the videos we have done on the Husqvarna Viking Amber Air S600, and check out the links below this video where I have put some of my favorite Craftsy Serger classes, including some of my favorite cover stitch classes, for you to check out yourself.